Well, here it is, another Walker Wednesday, but we're not talking about The Walking Dead or Fear the Walking Dead. No, no, no. We are talking about Return of the Living Dead. Hit the button. Let's get started. Hey there, hi there, ho there, Andrew here, the horror host of Generations X, Y, and Z, inside Davis Manor with the 1985 horror comedy classic? Yeah, sure, why not? Let's go with it. The Return of the Living Dead. But before we begin with that, let me go ahead and give a little thank you to these people right here. That's right, these are the patrons of the show right now, and they are helping the channel go in the direction that it needs to go. And if you want to see some behind-the-scenes stuff, email me or join me in a video group chat, earn some exclusive rewards only available to patrons, or just want to support the channel by pledging, then click the link above or check out the link in the description box below or at the end of the video. Now getting back to the movie at hand. This is a Dan O'Bannon film, and it is about two bumbling employees named Frank and Freddie at a medical supply warehouse that accidentally released deadly gas into the air. Hey, I can relate to that story. I mean, I work with some guys that release some deadly gas into the air. Oh, that's a fart joke. And those vapors cause the dead to rise again as zombies. And this film stars a big cast of actors like Clu Gulager, James Karen, Don Calfa, and Tom Matthews. Side note, the writer of this film is named John A. Russo, and he was working on this film, writing it, I should say, at the same time that George A. Romero was working on the 1978 Dawn of the Dead. What is it with the initial A and people writing zombie movies? Anyways, an independent film producer named Tom Fox bought the script from Russo, and he wanted to get O'Bannon to be attached to the project. So he gave them the script, had to take a look at it. O'Bannon refused outright. He didn't want to have anything to do with it because it was too serious of a sequel for Night of the Living Dead, which is what it was written for. And he really felt that it would be kind of intruding on Romero's turf, so it was rewritten with more cowbell humor. Russo also received a story credit, even though his original concept was changed dramatically. The original story was to be a direct sequel to Night of the Living Dead, taking place 10 years later with three sisters against some looters in the countryside while the dead begin to walk the earth again. I have to say, I am really pleased with the final concept and the script of this film. I mean, genres like the zombie genre and horror genre in general actually need to have some comedic films thrown in every now and then, because it really broadens the audience out there and recruits more into the fold of horror. And this film totally plays the camp silliness, all while having people react and say things that probably would be said if this really happened. As I've stated earlier, the cast for this film was a pretty impressive cast to begin with, and the seasoned actors that you see never once give you the feeling that it's amateur hour on the screen. The actors play believable characters in an unbelievable world, and you find yourself rooting for all of them. The direction and cinematography have to be appreciated in this film, not for the gratuitous nudity, which there is plenty of, but rather the way that they tell the story on how the dead are rising from the grave without actually telling you how the dead are rising from the grave. You see, when the vapors are released, they go into the clouds, and the clouds begin to rain, and the water, now with the vapor inside, seep into the soil where the dead are buried in Resurrection Cemetery. Because apparently the name Lazarus Lanes was taken. And yes, there are some negatives to this film. First off, it doesn't age well at all because it was filmed in the mid-1980s, so it feels like it's stuck in that day and age. Also, some might feel like it doesn't take itself too seriously and is trying to cash in on the original Night of the Living Dead film. However, this movie, which was one of the few back in the day to use the word zombie, does take a nod to the classic Night of the Living Dead by having a scene where Frank tells Freddie that one of the things that they have in the warehouse is a zombie from the event known as Night of the Living Dead, which inspired the film Night of the Living Dead. So let me get this straight. They kind of delete a little bit of the previous film because the previous film is just a film. It didn't really happen. So the movie, the prequel, or the movie before it, isn't really happening. It never existed. I mean, horror movies don't do that, right? All right. I have to say, there is a lot of tongue-in-cheek humor in this film, and I won't go into great detail here, because I don't want to spoil things for you. But some of the things I will spoil is the fact that zombies speak in this film, and we get a chance to hear their motivation and why they crave brains. I love that scene, and it is a fun way to expand the mythos of zombies. But to explain some of the tongue-in-cheek references, I'm going to give you an example here. The chemical that was released via vapor, it comes from, in the movie, the Darrow Company. And the chemical compound is called 2,4,5-trioxin. And that is actually an allusion to a real company and a real chemical. The real company is Dow, and the chemical that is alluding to is 2,4,5-dioxin. So dioxin instead of trioxin. And for those that have no idea what that chemical compound is, it is most famously known as Agent Orange. Now, if you don't know what Agent Orange is, it was used for part of the Vietnam War, and I think it was also used at an army base in Canada, if I remember correctly. But basically, it was originally used to scorch earth and destroy plants and everything. However, the people that used it and operated around it had some pretty bad adverse effects, so they nixed that chemical altogether. Overall, this movie is a fun watch, and the movie has decent special effects. Most notably is Tarman, who is supposed to be the first zombie that breaks out in this movie, and the acting is fun to watch. I mean, the players do their part and put in enough charisma in their performances that you care about what is happening and what is going to happen. Plus, it is fun to watch the zombies do their thing. I mean, if you are a fan of zombie flicks and the zombie genre in general, then this is a must-have in your library. If you aren't a big fan of zombies, this is still a good popcorn flick to watch, and you don't have to be too emotionally invested into it all. So do you agree with me or disagree with me? Go ahead and leave a comment down below, and remember, like, share, subscribe, plus hit that bell icon so you get notified the moment I upload, and I will see you in the next video.